Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back on the first dev server for Updates New Power, and it's time to have a look at the USS New Orleans and all of the other naval vehicles that are coming in this update. It's a big one for naval. There's a lot of stuff which is coming along, and the New Orleans is the first one. This is a machine which has access to 3 sets of triple mounted 8-inch Mark 14 guns, 2 on the front, 1 on the back. It also has access to 8 5-inch guns, 6 quad 40mm Bofors, and 14 dual-mounted 20mm Oerlikons. You can see at the back, this right here, the sets of 40mm, they look beefy as all hell. So yeah, good luck being a plane. Getting anywhere near this machine definitely looks a little bit rough. Has a ton of armor on it as well, 127 on the belt and 76 on the lower parts. This is a heavy cruiser for the Americans and also gets access to the standard HE. Then also get some AP and also some APC-BC just for good measure. Doesn't get access to any torpedoes, so this machine is just reliant on its guns. And also look how beautiful the X-ray looks. This machine is powered by a ton of engines, as you can see down here, and has a respectable 61 kilometers an hour of a max speed. 848 crew members on it as well, just to make sure that it can keep rolling. But the 8-inch guns, at least to me, are the funnest addition to this thing. Should be nice to use. The next vehicle is the North Dakota. We're going back a few generations with this one. This is the BB-29, known in the game as a battleship. You can see now that they have actually had put a new little icon for the battleships in the bottom right of the little card at the bottom there, so make sure to look out for that. This machine has access to a bunch of different things. It has 5 dual-mounted 12-inch Mark V cannons, 14 5-inch guns as well, and 2 3-inch guns. So the main battery is absolutely massive on this thing. And another thing as well is the armor is no joke either. 254 rolled cemented here with 279 as a belt, and some coal bunkers which are also modeled in as having some armor on top of it. The engines are once again huge. 2 nice little stacks on it, and as you can see, all of the ammunition in the world that you will want. It will be beautiful to see one of these things get absolutely exploded when it happens. 305mm guns on the North Dakota. And when it comes to the torpedoes that these things have, as you can see, this thing can go 3.66 kilometers. So the torpedoes are definitely not going to be very useful, but the 305mm guns are. It doesn't get any access to any other shells, only some AP armor shells on it, unfortunately. So you can't wreck any destroyers with some HE, but at least you'll be able to penetrate anything, you know, that you'll find. A beautiful machine, lovely to see. Then we have 2 premiums for the Americans. You have the USS Moffett, which is a pre-war Porter class machine, has access to the 4 dual-mounted 5-inch cannons, not the new version of them. I believe that the old version, the turrets at least. Then you have access to 2 quad-mounted 1.1-inch guns. You can see them right here, and then also 5 20mm Oerlikons. This thing's going to be at 5.0, so it's going to be the Blue Water Fleet premium version of the Porter class, which finds itself right here, the USS Porter, and should be slightly worse than it, if I remember correctly, because of its guns. And, well, the guns are the same, but the mountings are different. So we'll have to see if it makes a difference. It probably won't. They'll probably be exactly the same. But yeah, if you want to have a look at the Blue Water Fleet for the Americans, this is what the tree looks like, and then it goes all the way to, of course, the heavy cruisers and then the battleships at the end. Then for the coastal fleet, this is what it looks like. So PT boats, battle boats, and eventually finishing with the LCS-03 and the 89-footer PT-810. The USS Wellborn that we have as well is it's a Clemson class machine and has access to 4 4-inch guns, So not the best, but it's the starter premium for the new Blue Water Fleet 250 GE, and you get quite a nice camo on it as well. Makes you stand out, you know, and also the torpedoes that you get, the Mark 8s go 9.14 kilometers, so better than the battleship ones, which isn't too much of a surprise since of when this is made compared to the battleship. But yeah, this is just a standard Clemson class, and if you've ever played them, it's not exactly the funnest experience, but they did just change the BRs, so it might be a little bit better now. The Germans get access to some big, beefy boys. The first one being the SMS Westfalen, and I do want to take this time to actually show something that they've done. So with all of the countries now, they all get a flag, and you can see the operator country and the research country. So the research country is where it's in-game, and the operator country is the one that actually used it in real life. So the operator country being the German Empire, the research country is Germany. If you want to see a more extreme example, you can see it at the T-72 AV terms, where you can see operator country Syria, research country USSR. Now, I think that's a really nice change. It's good to clarify these things. Very happy they've done that. So the Westfalen has access to 6 dual-mounted 283mm, mounted in a very interesting way, so you can only get 8 guns on target at any point. Has access to 12 150mm as well, which are mounted near the belt. Then also 12 88mm cannons over it, and 4 7.92mm machine guns. Yes, you heard it right. That is your anti-air. 4 7.92mm machine guns. Oh, these things are going to get bombed to all hell, and it's going to be so funny. Oh, God, anyway. So the armor on this machine, 290mm in the center, then that's flanked by 170 around the place, and then the coal bunkers as well, keeping the machine alive. Also has some extra fuel tanks around the place, and the colossal transmissions and engines at the bottom. Everything is looking really cool on this machine. With 283mm, they get access to HE as a stock shell, and then APC as the main shell, which should be able to pen all of these other battleships that the machine will be facing against. No torpedoes on this thing, not really a surprise, is it, when it comes to these old battleships. But this is a really interesting machine and beautifully modeled. These new ships look absolutely stunning in the game. The next one is the Helgoland, and the Helgoland has access to the same turret, at least the way that they're set up. It's the same set as the Westfalen, but they are bigger guns. It has access to 6 305mm dual sets, so 12 overall, but you can only, once again, get 8 on target at once. Not a huge deal, but it's something to think about. Then 14 150mm guns as well, and 14 88s. It ditches the 7.92s, not a surprise, but does add some torpedoes. So the torpedoes are these 500mm G6Cs. They only go 5 kilometers, so once again, not really that useful. Start off with some HE, which pens quite a bit, and then you have APC, which pens 507, 407, 174mm. So you'll be able to go through pretty much anything when it comes to the main round of this machine. It's looking really spicy to use this. Then we have the T-Type 1924, I think it's the Iltis. This is very similar to one of the machines that we have in the tech tree, the Type 1924 in the Blue Water Fleet. By the way, if you want to have a look at the Blue Water Fleet, this is what it looks like for the Germans and the coastal fleet as well. So you can see that stuff such as the Lübeck get themselves into the coastal fleet. The other thing about the Blue Water Fleet is with the 1924, we already have the Leopard in the game, which is pretty much a carbon copy of the Iltis. So this is just the starter premium. premium for the Germans. Really nice to see. And yeah, it's got a really cool camo on it as well, but it's the same as the one in the tech tree. When it comes to the Soviets, they also get 4 new ships. The first one being the Kerch. The Kerch is a 3.3 machine. It's very, very similar to the Frunz. I believe it's probably exactly the same as the Frunz. It's a Fidonisi type, and the Frunz is a Shadzlivi type, so they're probably slightly different in certain ways. Looks like the Kerch is slightly worse than the Frunz because it has slightly less weaponry, but it does have access to the 4 102mm guns plus 2 45mm as well, so it still has its main firepower. Has a really cool camouflage on it as well, and this will be your starter premium for the Blue Water Fleet, which starts at the Frunz and the Ognavoy and goes all the way to the Poltava. Then the Coastal Fleet starts off obviously with the PT boats and goes all the way to the PR-159 and the PR-206M. So if you didn't have the 159 beforehand, now you're going to have to pay a little bit more for it, unfortunately. This machine is kind of nice and a good starter premium. Then we have the Zheleznyakov, I think, and this has access to a lot of guns. 4 152mm triple mounted turrets. Also has access to 4 dual mounted 100s, 14 dual mounted 37s as well, just for some extra support on this. And it has one of the best camos in the game when it comes to naval. Able to throw all of the colours onto the wind, and it also has rewards of 570, 840% SL. That might be the highest in the game when it comes to anything. On the 152s has access to all the rounds that you would want of 5.7, so hopefully you'll be able to pen the battleships. Same with the 100mm as well. And then you'll find it right here in the tech tree. It's the Project 68K. I'm pretty sure that's the same type as the Chapayev. Yeah, it's just another version of the Chapayev, isn't it? Or it's another class of the Chapayev. So a Chapayev with a cool skin. The Chapayev is seen as a pretty nice machine, so it would be nice to have a premium version of it. The Poltava, so this is one of the new Soviet battleships. You can see here that it was the Russian Empire that operated this, and the research country being the Soviets. Then it has a main armor belt of 225. It's very, very low in the water as well, so I feel like a lot of shells are going to go over this thing. And it also has 125 up here. The guns themselves have 203 around the stacks and 250 around the bridge. When we have a look at the rest of it, it has mounted on it 4 sets of triple mounted 12-inch guns, which can all get on target at once. Then you've got 16 120mm guns, 2 75mm, and also a 3-pounder Hotchkiss just for good measure. So you can see all of the guns here in the blisters, which look pretty cool, and the fact that you can get all the guns to hit at once in this will make this a little bit more powerful than some of the other machines that we've seen so far. It does have a bunch of torpedoes, but once again, rough 6 kilometers, so a little bit better than others, but that's with the torpedo mode, which adds 3,000. So these stock are 3 kilometers. Has access to HE, AP, and also SAPCBC, so a little bit of both. Overall, this one should do a ton of damage, and I'll just show you what the guns look like on this machine, because it's always nice having a look at these new effects and having a look at these new ships, because they are so big and they will do so much damage. So let's just let the guns ride. Actually, have fun with the smaller ones, and by smaller ones, of course, I mean absolutely huge ones. You can see how long it's going to take to turn these guns onto target. So you better make sure that you know what you're shooting at before you go around. But there goes that little machine. Not really a surprise, but the guns are just firing all over the place. We can go straight ahead so you can have a look at the smoke effects when it comes to the funnels and all of the guns. I don't think they've changed too much of how naval looks. I think they've changed how much everything else looks. So it also shows how slow these machines are. So there goes a barrage. So we can just fire them all out. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yep, it's a rough day for that guy. Definitely gonna say that. But you can see the overall firepower against the destroyer, and it probably won't see too many destroyers. But you can see all of the guns firing. You can see what it looks like, and then you also have the torpedoes, which go down below, which is pretty cool, and randomly blow up, which is kind of weird. They must be hitting the ground of the machine. It would be nice if they updated this area to have one of the old battle cruisers on, so we could take some shots. But if you want to have a look at the main guns, they look pretty nice, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a big fan of that. And then the shell splash, there we go. And remember, that is just with HE, and we've done a very decent amount of damage and set a lot of fires. That guy's just exploded from the damage. So yeah, that's how much damage a lot of these guns can do, especially these big old guns that these machines have. Moving on from the Poltava, we have the Imperatritsa Maria. And this is another 6.0 machine and has access to the same armament as the Poltava as its main, 4 12-inch triple-mounted guns, but the differences come in when it comes to the secondaries. This machine has 20 130mm guns, 4 sets of 75s as well on the machine. So it has much better secondaries than the Poltava, but it also doesn't get... oh no, it does get the torpedoes, sorry. So it still keeps the torpedoes, but just gets 130s instead of the 120s and loses the random 3-pounder Hotchkiss. Everything else when it comes to the machine should be very similar, such as the armor, but it seems like the coal bunker isn't modeled on the Poltava, so maybe it will be at some point. But yeah, they're two incredibly similar machines with slight differences between them. The next one is the British, and the British get access to 3 new ships. Actually, no, sorry, 4 new ships. So the first one is the Colossus. The Colossus has 5 dual-mounted 12-inch guns. It has 2, 1 on the front, 2 on the back, and then 2 in unparalleled positions in the center. So technically you can get all guns to bear on a target, but it's not exactly what we class as easy to do. It's also going to be at 6.0 in the new setting up of everything. It's classed as a battleship as well, and will have access to some pretty cool guns. The 305s fire HE and also the APC round. They have 11-kilometer travel distance torpedoes, so best in the business, even though the business is still weak when it comes to these ones. And also when it comes to the armor, you can see how complicated it is. So it has a 279 belt, 203 above, a bunch of coal bunkers, some rolled homogeneous armor, some cement armor around the ammunition, because the magazines themselves are absolutely massive. So we'll see how this thing plays out. It can go 81 kilometers an hour if you chuck it off a cliff, and has a lower crew count than a lot of the other ones. The Dreadnought is also here, has the same setup when it comes to the guns, with the 1 on the front, 2 on the back, but it has the guns in a parallel set this time instead. 305mm guns, all dual sets, and then 18 76mm on them, with 2 76mm as well on top of that. When it comes to the general armor of the Dreadnought, it sits a little bit lower, which is nice for it. 279 main belt, and then 203 on top, with the coal bunkers as well, and the rolled homogeneous armor all over the place, and ammo racks aplenty as well, which are a little bit less covered. You've got got the transmissions, you got the smoke funnels, you got the engines, you got pretty much everything when it comes to this machine, and it is really nice to see it. Modifications, once again, HE and APC-BC. Then you've also got SAP on the 76s, so they will be able to penetrate some stuff, but probably not a lot. 5.49 kilometer torpedoes, the 450mm RGF Mark 6s, so not exactly great, but at least they exist, I suppose. Then you have the flotilla leader, the J class, as the 4.3 new premium that is coming, and this has 3 sets of dual mounted 4.7s. It has the quad 40, the 4 dual 20s, and the two 20mm as well, and you'll find it in the Blue Water Fleet. It's at the same BR as stuff like the K class and the N class, and I'm pretty sure it is just very similar to the N class, even though it is a J class. So this is the Blue Water Fleet and what it's going to look like with everything inbound. Then the Coastal Fleet looks like this as well, so you can see where all of the vehicles are. The Peacock at 270k, and with that, you know, it does have access to the nice torpedoes with the 12k range, and also all of the ammunition types that you would ever want when it comes to a destroyer. Even the 40s get a little bit of a look in. Then you have the Montgomery. The Montgomery is a Clemson, and being a British Clemson, it has access to 3 4-inch guns, and also has access to a 3-inch naval cannon as well, and some 12.7s around the place. So yeah, it's a starter premium. You know, don't expect too much from it, but at the same time, at least it's better than the Clemson that we have in the tree. You know, this one only has 2 main guns technically, or 1 main gun. This one has 3, so improvement for the G95, and a nice skin to boot as well. Then we have a look at Japan, which also gets some new stuff. And we start off with the Setsu. The Setsu is a battleship coming in, rank 5, battle rating 6.0. It has 2 sets of dual 12-inch guns, backed up by 4 sets of dual 12-inch guns as well. So you can see them in this configuration here, with 1 on the front, 1 on the back, and 2 on each side. Then 10 6-inch cannons, 8 4.7-inch cannons, and 12 3-inch cannons as well. So this thing is covered in a multitude of stuff, and as you can see, there is a few holes in the turrets. Don't worry about that. I'm sure that's just a graphical issue where, you know, they look destroyed but they aren't actually destroyed. I'm sure that will be fixed on release, especially that one. Look at the big hole there. But the main thing is, this thing is chock-a-block full of armor as well. 305 of the road cemented armor on the belt. That's going to be a tough nut to crack. 228 above it, and then 152 above that. The turrets themselves have 279mm all around, with the coal bunkers all over the place, and some rolled homogeneous armor under all of it as well. Then you can see the smoke funnels, the engines, all of this stuff all over the place, and the huge ammunition racks for these vehicles. As I said, it's going to be really cool watching these explode. Whether it's from a bomb or a shell, I'm going to be happy. 305mm guns, so that seems to be standardized across the board. HE and APC as well, 564, 453, 193 respectively across it. Also gets torpedoes with a 5k range, and some APC for the 152s, so at least you can be able to do a bit more damage with them. The Icoma is also coming in. This is seen as a battle cruiser, so not a battleship like the Setsu, and the Icoma has access to 2 dual mounted 12 inches, and then 12 6 inches, 12 4.7s, and also 2 3-pounder guns. So its main armament of the 2 guns are either side, and then it has a bunch of stuff in the center as well, which is lovely to see. Then we have a look at the armor profile: 178, 127, and then 229 on the main guns. So not as much armor as a lot of the other ones that we've seen, but still formidable depending on what it faces. Then we have all of the magazines, the ammo elevator, the turrets, all of this stuff all over the place. There's just a ton of things to love about these models. The models are so nice. On the 305s, you get the same ammo as before, and same with the 152s as well. So overall, pretty nice looking. If you want to have a look at the Blue Water Fleet for Japan, this is what it looks like. So you have the new premium plus the new 2 ones at the top, and then for the lower stuff, you have the Chidori, the Sionin, and the Isuzu as the top, and then obviously all the PT boats. The Satsuki comes in as the premium for the Japanese. It looks very similar to the Matsuki when it comes to it. I think it's probably exactly the same as the Matsuki, isn't it? Let's see. So 4 120s and 2 77s, and the Matsuki has 4 120s, 2 77s. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're sister ships. The Satsuki made, or at least a 1935 version compared to a 41. The guns are quite slow firing, but do pack a bit of damage, especially at 3.3. So it has HE, and then it has HE TF. And then also some SAP to back that up. The torpedoes as well have a travel distance of 15 kilometers, so you can do quite decent damage to them from a ways away. It also has access to 16 Type 93 mines as well, which are pushed off the back of the ship. So yeah, another very similar Matsuki, going to be 250 GE. Worth the pickup, in my opinion, just to get yourself boosted. Then the last machine is the Aquilone, or the Aquiloni, or however you say it as an Italian. It has 2 sets of dual 120mm guns on it, then 3 40mm, and also a bunch of mines, 52 of them to be exact. You can also bring along some torpedoes as well if you want to, 6 of them, and the 6 go 12 kilometers, and they're not too bad, not too shabby indeed. This being the starter premium for the Blue Water Fleet for the Italians, so the same BR as the Turbine or the Caccia Torpena Dianeri. It's not a surprise that it's there because of the fact that they're both turbine types, so yeah, they're just basically very similar to each other. And also, so this is the Blue Water Fleet for the Italians, and this is the Coastal Fleet for the Italians as well. So a lot more sparse, but I'm sure there'll be more stuff added to it going forward. That is all of the naval ships that are coming to the game in Update New Power. Make sure to have a look for them. They all look pretty fun, especially the big old battleships. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Trigger Hippie, Universe, Conte Baraka, Elove Goat, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Hans, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.